What's up, guys? It's Missy. I'm back with another SimCity Buildit video, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the conspiracy theories about SimCity Buildit, along with some psychological things that I've noticed about not necessarily just this game, but just in general, just the way that people perceive things. And it's just something that I've noticed greatly over the last 5 years of playing the game. But it's not even just on this game per se. People do it all the time in life, and I feel like everybody gets this point where they've been told something by somebody, and then they don't investigate that something, and then they repeat that as if that is fact, right? So maybe you're on maybe you're on a Facebook group, and you see somebody come up with a conspiracy theory that the algorithm of this game is affected by what's inside your storage unit or what your game is asking you for, right? Because you, as a person, sit there and you focus on that, and then you base it to fit the narrative. And what I mean by that is this. If you are... Alright, let's say that you have a bunch of stuff going on in your game, right? Let's say that you're looking at your task list, and you have a production task to make flour, and you don't have any textiles or seeds, so you start getting that making, and you start asking your group for that stuff. Then you go over and you're looking at your house upgrades, and you see what items are needed for that. Then you go over to your airport, and you're looking at what items are needed there, right? If you were to make a list of all of the items that you needed from everything within the game that your game is currently asking you for. So you're looking at, all your house upgrades, all your VE repairs, anything that's out and asking you for something. Then you have a whole list of tasks, and you have production tasks. Maybe you have 5 or 6 production tasks, okay? And you decide that maybe you're going to do your Tokyo shipment, but you haven't started the task yet. You're just looking for the stuff that you need to fill the shipment boxes. And one of the things that you needed was 2 fire pits. So you're looking on global, and you haven't had any luck finding these fire pits, right? So you ask your group, and nobody has any, and nobody else is able to find them either, okay? And so maybe 2-3 hours goes by, and you can't find these stupid fucking fire pits, right? And you're like, God damn it, this game, fuck this shit. Oh, shit, dude, my bad, I forgot. You better have headphones in. Alright, let's tone it down, Missy. It's not even, what time is it? It's not time enough to be talking like Missy. Okay. You're like, why is this game only giving me what I don't need? And it must know what I need, and it's not giving it to me. So you got your middle finger up in the air right now, and you're like, seriously, dude? 2 hours? And then you're like cussing the game out in the chat, like, dude, this game knows what I need. You know what I mean? I know it does. And everybody's like, I'm looking on global. I'm sorry, I can't find nothing. Right? And so finally you're like, fine, screw this. And you hit new shipment. Okay? And you pay the cash. That's the only way you're going to be able to do that as if you didn't pack the other boxes. So I hope you didn't pack the boxes. And you pay, right? And you get a whole new list of things. And you open up your global, and what do you see? You see a fire pit, do you not? Okay, so you're like, yep, it's a conspiracy. They're against me. How the hell does the game know what you're working on and is keeping you from seeing what you need? If you haven't started the task, right? How does it know that you're looking specifically for fire pits? You have all these other things in your game that are asking you for stuff. And then you're only noticing the one time that you can't find something, right? But what about all the other people that couldn't find it for 2 hours? Does your game know and communicate with their game and say, psh, Missy's looking for fire pits, don't give it to them either, okay? Because you know sure as shit that the moment that you open up your global, you're gonna see, hey, do you still need fire pits? I found 7. And you're like, no dude, I know. And then you got somebody jumps on the game. Okay, they haven't been playing the whole time. They're like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you needed fire pits. Yeah, I got like 20 in my inventory." And you're like, "Really, dude? Wow. Okay, so you're telling me that their game communicates with your game, and EA is conspiring against you to not give you fire pits, right? So you proceed on, and you proceed to do your assignments, and it asks you for stuff, and you're able to go on global, and you're able to ask your group, and you're able to find those things. Maybe you find the next 25 things that you needed, but you don't notice that. You don't pay attention to that, because that's not a problem, right? So the next time that you don't have something that it's asking for, you're like, oh man, it's conspiring against me again. And people get into this habit, and they're like, yeah, it must be, you know? And trust me on this, okay? It has nothing to do with the algorithm of your game. If the game doesn't know what you're working on, it's not gonna know what to keep from you. If you have X amount of assignments, like however many assignments that you have, like 10 or 15, whatever it is, in that list, how does the game know exactly what you're looking at and what you're doing? It doesn't. So if you were to go off that logic alone, then it would stand to reason that you would have to look at every item that your game was asking you for on your screen. All your house upgrades, all your shipments, look at your Paris, your London, your Tokyo, everything. Make a list of all those items and see if you're not able to find all of those items. Now, why is it that nobody else in your group can find them either? Right? Yeah. Probably because there's just a shortage on the global market. Now, a lot of times, it's also with things that you don't find on the global market very much, but you make a mental note to go, I see them all the time when I don't need them. Well, all right, let's talk about that. Why is life like that? Why is it that you can run with a full cup of water, okay? I don't care if you're 4 buying. You fucking have a cup of water and that shit ain't gonna spill a drop, right? But you get a cup of coffee, that shit's all over your hands, it's all over your pants, all over your shirt, it's fucking burning your crotch when you're taking a fucking turn in the car. It's a nightmare. And you're like, dude, what the hell? So, another prime example, all right? You get a shirt that you like, brand new shirt, white. It doesn't even have to be white. It can just be something that you like, okay? You can go to the damn fucking fair and be on the scrambler with a corn dog and a fucking dipped in mustard, and that shit won't get a drop on you, okay? But you so much as try to eat anything with a white t-shirt on, no matter how much you try to be careful, and you get a drop on your shirt. Tell me it doesn't happen. You know it happens. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right? You're waiting on somebody. I don't care what it's for, okay? I don't care if it's somebody to get out of an appointment, show up at your house, fucking, they were just supposed to run in the store real quick, drug deal, I don't care what it is. Whatever you got going on, and you're sitting there, tick fucking talk. What's taking these people so long? You wait, and you wait, and you wait, and then you fucking leave. And what do? They come out the store like clockwork, or whatever. They show up. And they're messaging you seconds later saying, where'd you go? Dude, I just spent an hour sitting there. And if you would have stayed sitting there, they would not have showed up. Or you think, nope, I'm not leaving, because I know the moment I do, they're going to show up. And it happens every time, right? Why? I don't know. Maybe God just has a really fucked up sense of humor. Personally, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but if anybody has a logical reason for that, I don't know why it happens, but it seems to happen to me quite a bit, okay? So, when you're looking at a horoscope, and you're reading the horoscope, and you're like, how can I find a way to apply this to my life, right? And you're like, okay, maybe it says I'm going to come into a lot of money. And you're like, well, I'm broke as shit, so that can't be true. And then you're like, that must be just wrong this month. And then next month, you were able to twist it to kind of sound like your life. So you're like, oh, this thing must be real, you know? And it's like, man, everybody's got their own beliefs as to why, stuff is the way it is. And I'm not knocking anybody's beliefs, okay? But I like to have a little bit of fact behind my beliefs, usually, typically, okay? I don't know why weird shit happens like that, but it does. And it happens like that. You buy a car, you get a fucking car, you see that car everywhere. You weren't looking for it before. so you didn't notice that you couldn't find it. It's the same thing with the game. You weren't looking for it. So no shit you didn't notice that it wasn't popping up because you weren't looking for it. How many fire pits would you have seen had you not been looking for them? Probably not that many. You just wouldn't have noticed because you're like, well, I wasn't looking for it, so I wasn't paying any attention. And yeah, maybe you would have. Maybe you can recall, well, I saw one last week. Yeah, so? You kind of see where I'm going with that? Like, come on now. But then people come into the game, and this is what drives me absolutely bonkers, okay? They don't enter into the chat and say something like, I don't know, it seems like it. Or it kind of seems like the game does know what you need and doesn't give it to you, right? Or the game knows the amount that you... I actually heard somebody tell me this a couple times, actually, that you have rare items, right? Like locks, cameras, bars. And that the algorithm is based off your storage. That you will not find bars if you have a bunch of cameras or locks. That's why you're not finding bars. But haven't you ever noticed that there's always a shortage of one of them? Always, right? And it doesn't matter. It does not matter what's in your storage, because how many of you have feeders? And you put all of your stuff on your feeder, and then you transfer it when you have enough for an upgrade, right? So it would stand to reason that that couldn't be true. So you're like, okay, why is it that there's a shortage of bars? So you start talking, and you're trying to trade in your club. So you're like, all right, dude, I'm really low on bars. I got an overflow of locks right now. And what happens every time? Everybody in the game says, I know, me too. I'm full up on cameras. Everybody's always short what you are looking for. So it's the game conspiring against them too. You see what I'm saying? It's that way for everybody. And it seems to rotate, every like month or so. You'll have like an overflow of cameras, and then all of a sudden next month it'll be like an overflow of bars. Now, the game algorithm for like items in the global market, that changes the moment that you click on that person's city. So the game only controls what you're seeing the moment that you click on the global HQ. So right here, right? This is what the game has control of me seeing. If the game wanted to make me see only burgers, it could. They could just set it up to be that way, right? What they do is they go based off, and I've talked to people at EA in my emails and stuff over the years, trying to understand how the global market works. And I always get a different answer from them, but it's usually the same general concept, right? And they say that it's a really complex system and that it is based off of supply and demand. Okay, well, yeah, no shit. But what do they mean by that? They mean that, for example, and if you do some research through some of the responses from EA on like the websites, you will see that they say, well, for example, burgers, right? It's not that they make you see only burgers. It's that, first off, you only have what you have unlocked visible to you, right? So if you're a level 43 player, you have all items unlocked, okay? That being said, what it does is they go and they say, okay, if we're going to throw what everybody has for sale into a bucket, and what people think is that, 90% of what's out there is this one item, and that's why everybody who has the ability to see this one item, that's all they see, right? Well, part of the problem isn't so much that there's so many people making burgers and nothing else. It's that so many people buy everything else up so fast, right? So what happens is, if you know as well as I do that them global people, they're savages, okay? You fucking accidentally advertise anything in that depot, if you don't immediately delete that shit, your whole depot's gone. It don't matter. It don't matter. They click that shit and it's gone, dude. You open up your depot and it's like, poosh, there ain't nothing left. And you're like, wow, well, okay then. If you advertise a paint on global, a nail, a plank, anything at all that isn't just the most ridiculous shit in the game, like, you know, burgers and fries, the stuff that, you know, nobody makes because they, well, okay, apparently they do, but nobody who knows the breakdown mathematically makes those items. And nobody buys those items. So think about this for a minute. Why, and you'll hear me out on this, okay? Why is it that people make burgers instead of donuts? When donuts not only sell faster, but they turn a higher profit. Well, I don't know why. Because they seem to think that because it sells for more, like, you know, so it's the highest priced item in the game, therefore it must give you the most turnover rate, right? No, that's not how it works. But you also have to take into consideration, right, what else you're not able to make. So people only look at what they made from that item. They're not looking at what they're missing out on by making that item instead of making this item. Now, that wasn't even the point I was getting at, because I made that point in a lot of my videos. The point that I'm getting at here is, why is it that nails turn a really, really, really high profit? Nobody makes them, right? And when they do, when they're posted to global, why is it that donuts sell so much? And nails? If they're one of the most highest profitable items in the game, and they turn a really nice profit, why is it that so many people don't make them? But why is it when you do that people buy them, but nobody buys burgers? Well, why do you think that is? Because they're used and asked for much more than burgers are. It's not just because, you know, people don't want to make them. Think about why people aren't buying burgers and why they're buying donuts. Now, think just for a minute. When was the last time you actually needed a burger for something that you couldn't have re-rolled? So what I mean by that is this. When I was a level, I think it was right after I unlocked, yeah, it was a level 32 or 33. It was right after I unlocked burgers. And I was doing house upgrades and stuff, and I'm like, why would anybody buy burgers? You know, they're so expensive. You would be better off re-rolling the materials needed for that upgrade. Then I look at, okay, the make burger tasks. When was the last time I even did a make burger task? I don't even know if I ever have, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever had one for it, like, and done it because it was a decent task. So then I'm like, okay, when do I ever buy burgers? When was the last time you went on global because you actually needed a burger? Well, usually it's not for VU repair, right? Usually, if it's a house upgrade and it's asking for something that expensive, I always re-roll it. So I'm like, okay, the only time I ever need them is for epic projects. And most of the time, because I have so many different 3-pointers, I don't buy the burgers. I usually try to go with something, you know, less expensive, like the 5 ice cream or the 5 pizza or whatever. I don't usually go straight for the burger. Now, sometimes there will be like one that's asking for 1 or 3, then I'll do it, you know, if I have to. But for the most part, I never use them, and I never need them. But donuts is a whole different thing, okay? You need that shit for everything. You know, everybody always needs that stuff for VU repairs and shipments and house upgrades and just everything. Or deliveries. But it's very rare that I get something that asks for burgers that I can't avoid somehow by doing it, right? So then you look at nails. Why is it that nails, and most of you play the game, you know, quite a bit. It's not like you're oh, well, I have to refill my shops so often. Okay. Most of you are playing and checking in on your game every 44 minutes at least. And that's the fastest that you can have a nail make. 11 nails in this game, the fastest you're going to have it done at a normal speed without a token is going to be 4 minutes. Which means if you have 11, that's 44 minutes. So you can make 11 nails in 44 minutes. Now, if you can sell those for $80 a pop, right? That would stand a reason that you would want to make that, because it makes you good money. But not only does it make you good money, that stuff sells like crazy. You know, the moment that you put that shit on global, it's gone. Why? Because it gets asked for and used. Because so many people need, all the low-level people need them, because they're doing upgrades. You need them constantly for your VU repair. You're not going to have an epic project ever ask you for nails. I never have. And I've done 200-300 epics. You know what I mean? So I've never had I don't think I've ever even had a shipment. Not the shipping dock, but the flights. I don't think I've ever had it ask me for nails. I don't know. I don't know if I'd quote me on that one, but I don't recall ever doing that. Usually if you're a low-level player and you have a house upgrade that's asking you for 20 nails, typically I would tell you to re-roll it, right? Because you can get it for a lot cheaper. So I would definitely re-roll that. Now, planks, same concept, you know. They sell like hotcakes, and nobody really likes to make those either. I don't blame you. They're lame. But there's some things that, you know, you want to keep a stock of, and some things that you don't. But I've noticed with this game, and along with a lot of games, is that a lot of people have the same general thought process and make the same mistakes, right? And so I'm like analyzing the mistakes that a lot of people make, and I'm like, why is that? You know, because if it was just like one or two people, now I've been watching people for a very long time, okay? I made a lot of mistakes that a lot of people don't make, like just off the wall mistakes, okay? But when I first joined a club, I was a VP, right? And well, I was a member, of course, but I worked my way up to VP in their group. And I learned from them, right? I never looked up YouTube videos, and I never went on the websites. So I learned everything the hard way, because the people that I listened to didn't know what they were talking about, and they had been playing a very long time. And it wasn't that because they had high-level cities, and I thought they had their shit together because I didn't know, you know, what having your shit together was in this game. So when I saw somebody with half their land unlocked with a bunch of skyscrapers and, you know, 300 storage, I thought they were doing good. I didn't realize just how bad they were doing. And so I remember them telling me all kinds of crazy shit. And that comes into my next point, and I just want to make that very clear, that there is a major problem with this in my group and on Facebook and in the comments and just everywhere. If you are asking a question and it's directed at me specifically, it doesn't mean that only I'm going to answer that question. There are people that answer that question that feel as though that they're giving you the right answer. And sometimes they may be giving you the right answer, but more often than not, they give you a different answer than what I would have given you. So if I'm telling you one thing and they're telling you another, and they're in my group, you're gonna think, okay, he's in her group, she knows her shit, so I'm gonna take his word for it, right? Don't do that, okay? Do not do that at all. If it doesn't come from me, don't think that it's fact, for a fact, okay? Now, I've made mistakes, and I have been wrong in my time, believe it or not, okay? But if I make a mistake or I'm wrong, I'm going to investigate that, and I'm going to make it right. And I'm going to come back into the chat, and I'm going to say, look, I was wrong about that. The game has since changed. And that will happen, typically. With me, it's usually because the game has changed, and I didn't know about it because I'm a high-level player. So, for example, like the war deliveries. When they first came out, you had war deliveries for every single war item. Then I get a level 18 player come in and say that, you know, he's only getting war deliveries for the items that he has unlocked. And I'm like, really? And so I ask everybody in the chat, I'm like, do you guys have the same thing, you know? And most people had all cards unlocked, so they couldn't tell me. Well, he took that as it was my way of saying he was wrong. And it's like, no, I'm asking because so many things change in this game, right? And so it's the same general concept, right? Same with, there was something else in the game that recently changed. I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with regional maps. When regionals first came out, you had regional items unlocked for all maps. And the next week's update, or 2 weeks later or whatever, they only had you see the items for the regional maps that you had unlocked. And then they also didn't have the regional HQ right off the bat. So they also didn't have, they had the trees, I believe, and I don't even know if they had the trees. I don't quote me on that, but I know they had the service zones and stuff. But typically they do that. They update the game later. And, I see a lot of people, they make the same exact mistakes, right? And they get answers from people, and then they repeat them as if they're fact. If you're not getting the answer from me, remember to take it as caution, because you might not be getting the right answer. And if just because they're in my group doesn't mean that they know everything that I know about the game. And it doesn't mean that they've even seen all my videos, or maybe they don't agree with me. I don't know, okay? But everybody has their own theory as to what way you should play this game. And there's certain things that just don't change, all right? And math is one of those. 1 + 1 is always going to be 2, right? If you're telling me, well, you know what? You might make the most money making nails, but I make more money making planks, right? It's like, what? No, dude, you don't. It's the same game. It's the same thing, okay? You might have a different play style, and you might enjoy making this item more, or it might fit to your lifestyle, or it might be in your routine, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's more profitable, right? And so I see a lot of people, they make the same mistakes as everybody does. And the number one mistake that everybody makes is they level up too quick. Well, that is to be expected, because you don't know the dangers of leveling, right? So of course you're going to keep proceeding to go up and up and up. Another thing that everybody does is they spend their cash on I don't know what in the beginning, right? And it seems to be that a lot of people make the same general mistakes. Now, typically what'll happen is once they've made the mistakes, they start to realize that they're having difficulties, being able to manage their gameplay. They're in the position where they've went up too high in level, they can't hold items, all the items that they need, and they can't afford to provide services to all of the people within their city. Now, until you have practice and stuff like that, you're not going to be a pro at it. And they know that, okay? They make money off of... You think they're going to make money off you guys if you're playing the Missy's way? No. I've saved people literally hundreds and thousands of dollars, okay? Just by playing it the way that I have it set up. I have literally made it to where you guys are doing 4 or 5 years worth of work in a couple of months. And you're not spending a dime compared to what you would have spent otherwise. And they know that. Game developers know this. They know how the psychology behind the human brain works. They know what people are going to pay for. I mean, how many people do you think bought the Mayor's Pass last month? Okay? $4.99 a pop? Dude, really? And then you got the war cards and the war promotions that pop up like this. This is ridiculous. Look at this. $100 for war cards. Really? You've got to be kidding me. Now, they're out making money, Joke's on us, right? Not on them. You can't blame them for trying to make money. Now, yeah, you can cuss out your game and whatnot and be pissed that it's, a free-to-play game. But it's not really free to play, so to speak. They make a hell of a lot more money on the free-to-play games than they do just selling you the game as is, right? So, if you look at it that way, and you start breaking down what it is you want from your city, and you start saying, okay, I'm going to donate I spend $1 here, $5 there. You really need to go and look at what you've spent on this game and see what the hell you got going on, okay? And all you got to do is open up your app store and click the little settings button in the top left and see purchase history, and go all the way to the bottom of when you started purchasing stuff for this game and add it up. Because everybody that comes into the game, 9 times out of 10, they all lie. And and they all say that they don't spend money on the game, right? And then you start analyzing it, and you're like, that's not possible. If you're not winning the Mega League, you're not going to have cash, right? You're not just going to have a steady flow of cash to be able to purchase things like 4 Maxuses, okay? The game is not going to sit there and, you know how long it would take if you weren't winning the Mega League and you weren't spending money to get that kind of cash for the Maxus? Not just the 1,000. It goes up in price. So if you got 4, I know you're bullshitting me about spending money on the game, okay? If you've played 1 war or 2 wars and you've got every war card unlocked, yeah, you're bullshitting me that you're not spending money on the game, okay? There's a lot of ways that you can catch people in lies in this game, and I ask people things because I want to make sure that I'm helping them if I'm going to put forth my time and effort, I want it to be for a good reason. I don't want to donate all of my hard-earned items and things that I've spent, you know, tokens on, helping somebody who is donating them for 1 epic point. Now, back to that the game knows what you need thing. When it comes to epics, that's different. So, in epic projects, the game asks you for specific items. Now, when you first start your epic, it's going to ask you for very low tier items, very easy to get items, and it's going to progressively get harder. Once you hit silver you hit at 100 points. From silver to gold is when the epics take a turn and they double and sometimes quadruple in price, okay? They typically are always going to find the item that you don't have. So if you are somebody who is well prepped for your epic, you can, if you dump all of the, if you dump a lot of the raw materials, which are your factory items, and you were to say, okay, let's hold 10 techs, 10 chemicals, 10 feed, 10 electric, and then you dump the plastic and the wood and the metal, and then you hold the minerals and everything else, and you hold maybe 5 or 10 of those, right? This is saying you have a max storage capacity, and then you go through every item in the game, and you're like, okay, how many of each of these could I hold? You don't want an even amount of everything, because there's certain things that are way easier to find than other things. If you have regionals unlocked, for example, you're going to want to have, 20 or 30 of each regional item, especially the medium and the large ones. Another good thing is to leave shops uncollected when you do your epics. So before you start your epic project, if you're somebody who has been following, all my videos, and you're doing your epics in a very quick time, less than 40 minutes, then if a lot of people, they want to see how quick they can get it done, right? The best way that I have for you is the prep, okay? Prep. But you want to make sure that if you're trying to get it done really, really, really quick, that you're prepping the correct way. So, hear me out. You're going to look at your inventory. You're going to break it down into categories, and you're going to go, okay, this is my large, these are my large, expensive items that are easy to obtain. These are my raw materials. And then these are my, you got your regionals. And then you have your regular items that are much harder to get, like microwaves and popcorn and paint, right? And you're gonna go through and you're gonna try to get, X amount of each stacked up. And the game, and I've been studying this, I've been recording epics, and I've been watching other people, and I've been looking at the list that gets donated, because this is another thing that everybody quotes on, and they always tell you what their epic costs based off of the coins that they start with and the coins that they end with, and that is not an accurate cost by any means. Like that is almost as useless as even not giving me an answer at all. Between this time, you've had, I don't know, however many items you have in your storage, okay? And then you have the cost of the epic, and then you have the coins spent on product, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you donated all that product, right? Then you have coins collected between that, things that you've sold, your taxes, whatever. So that is not an accurate number at all. I don't even know why people say it in any way. Because first thing you do is you're going to write down the cost to start the epic, right? The only way to know how much that epic project costs you is to add up every item that went into it. Because you could have sold that item, but you didn't. You used it. So you're going to go, okay, if I had a fucking donut for 900 that I could have sold for $950, but I gave it away for free, right? There you go. So it costs $950. So you're like, okay, cool. So you start adding up all the items that you've donated into this epic project. That is the only accurate number that you're going to get. Now, how many people have been at the end of their epic and they can't find the items that they're looking for? So they go, this is what it does. It's going to have you like 10 buildings that are asking you for something you can't find, right? Then you're going to have the buildings that pop up that ask you for something that's extremely high priced, like 5 bread rolls or, you know, five burgers. And you have a building available that you can get the points that you need to finish for, like, I don't know, fucking, let's see. Usually it's like 3 drills or something, or like 4 ladders. So you're looking at 5 hamburgers versus 4 ladders in price. And people just want to get it done and over with and get it done quick. So they're just like, fuck it. And they pay quadruple the price, right? Now, sometimes people will just leave their shops. And that's another good thing to do, is to leave your shops with items that you haven't collected, right? Leave them sit there. If you know you're going to be doing an epic in the morning, then you want to wait until you have all of your shops done. The moment that you start your epic in the morning, look through your inventory and go, okay, I'm pretty well rounded on everything. You go look at your shops, you see, okay, I've got this, and this done. And then you just donate your first round, right? And you just keep donating all your items until you reach a point where you can't donate anymore. And then you're like, okay, cool, I need this, and this. So you go look at your shops and collect what you need from there, and then you go back, donate again, and proceed to donate until you can't donate anymore, right? If you don't have a high storage capacity with this, you're going to be needing more coins because you're using product, right? If you don't have a high storage capacity, it's just going to cost you more coins. So if you tell me you have, 800 storage and you're pretty well prepped on your epic and you have 23 pointers, and you tell me you got 40 grand, I'm going to be like, yeah, you should be able to hit gold if you're well rounded. But if you tell me I'm level 40, okay, and I have 200 space and I have 100 grand, can I hit gold? And especially if you don't have 3 pointers, I'm going to say no. There's no way in hell. Not with what you have. You're going to have to make more money, right? And people will be like, well, my last epic cost me about 20K. Well, no, it did not. No epic is costing $20,000, okay? The cheapest that I've seen somebody do an epic for since they upped it to the 200 points is $140,000. Now, until you record your epic and download one of those screen recorders like what I'm using right now, and you start your epic and you tally up every single thing that you donated into that epic, plus then take the cost to start the epic, that is the accurate number. It's not, well, after collecting $40,000 worth of items in my depot and collecting my taxes, I spent $20,000. No, dude, that's not an accurate assumption or whatever. It's just not assumption. I don't even know why I use that word, but that's not accurate at all. Okay. So there's tons of conspiracy theories on just obviously things in life in general, but the game, knowing what you need, and keeping it from you is just, life's a bitch. Okay. I mean, life just works that way. And if you go based off of, there's a lot of things in the game where people always make they always make the same mistakes, and they always repeat things as if they're fact, right? And so I see people in the chat all the time, and they'll be like, you know that this is how it works, right? And it's like, no, it's not. And then you start explaining it, and they're like, oh, okay. I mean, everybody's got their own play style. No one's going to play 100% the same way as you, right? I'm trying to give you guys the knowledge to save money and make the right choice to build the foundation for your city. So what I've done between level 1 and 18 is build the foundation of your city. Now, when you guys get to the end of the leveling guide, once you have hit level 24 and you have all of the things accomplished in the Missy's Building Guide, if you don't know what that is, then you need to go watch that video. Very important, okay? Once you've done that, you guys are not going to have the same challenges that other people have. Now, I've seen some of you that, or most of you are people that have been playing the game a long time and you've restarted, right? And it's breaking the bad habits that you were into because you've been playing the game, you know, one way for so long. It's a matter of reprogramming a whole new way, a whole new play style, right? And then I have the select few people that have come across my videos prior to this, and they are prior to their starting the game, right? So they're like, okay, cool. You know, they don't really, I guess they don't truly understand just how much better off they are than other players. So they don't appreciate it as much. I don't think that they have a clue how hard it gets. And you have the people that have recently started within the last year, and they think, okay, it's not going to be that bad, right? And then it is that bad. Then you have the high level players that have been playing a really, really, really long time, and they want to know how to fix their city. And so you have a couple of things that you have to do. First off, you have to look at your goals, you know? And there's a lot of ways that you can fix your city as a high level player. But it all starts with first knowing where you want to go, okay? You're not going to be able to know how to get to somewhere when you don't know where you're going. You're just going to be driving in circles. Now, once you have a destination and say, okay, this is what I want, this is my goal, then you can say, okay, what do I need to do to achieve said goal, right? And if your goal is to have this X amount of epic projects and, you know, this type of city or this design or whatever it is, okay, you're going to go, okay, what do I need to do to achieve my goals? And if your goals are to have epic projects, or if your goals are to have a really cool looking city, then you go, okay, what am I doing as far as design goes? And designing, to me, is the best part of the game. Now, granted, they don't have the best design options in this game, but to me, that's what's most fun about the game. And I think a lot of people, what's happened is, when you look at it like this, okay? You got a building game, right? And it's amazing to me how you can have a city builder. Like, the reason that you downloaded this in the first place was what? Because you wanted to build a city, right? Okay. But EA and like many free-to-play game companies out there, they have come out and they've went like, okay, we are going to keep these people intrigued with this game. And people get addicted to a lot of games, right? But people get really addicted to things that require instant gratification. And what I mean by that is they constantly feel like they're getting somewhere, but they're not. So every day when you wake up and you play this game, which, keep in mind, this is a real-time strategy game. So let's say you're playing a gun game at home on PS4. If you were to put that many hours into a gun game and leveling up a character or something like that, like an RPG, you would have a bunch of stuff to show for, right? You would have like success and achievements and whatnot. What amazes me is you can take something just based on knowledge. I can make a level 18 city. Me and you can both play the same game. And we can both play for the same amount of time. And you can accomplish absolutely nothing. And I can have accomplished 100 times what you've accomplished in the same amount of time. Just based off the choices that I make. Now, EA knows that you're going to level up fast. EA knows that you're going to want to get those items done quickly and you're going to pay cash. They also know that people are very competitive, right? People never look at the reward for what it is that they're giving. If you were to be told, it's kind of like work, okay? Do you get paid by the job or do you get paid by the hour? If I was to show you what you're going to do, if you were to go back, if I hire you on to do landscaping, okay? And you come over and you're working your ass off and I'm like, look, I'm going to pay you $20 an hour. And you're like, fuck yeah, some good money. I'm down, And you work you know how much work you can get done in 2 hours, especially when you're trying to impress somebody and you want to keep that job? Those people will break their back for $20 an hour, okay? Do you know how much shit you can accomplish in 20 fucking goddamn minutes, let alone an hour? Okay? So you're like, all right, cool, I'm making $20 an hour. And I tell you that you're gonna pressure wash my driveway, then you're gonna rake my yard, you're gonna weed my flower beds, you're gonna wash my car, you're gonna do this, that, and the other thing. You're doing everything, right? And you're like, okay, cool. And you're working as fast as you can, you're trying to make an impression. 2 hours goes by. Okay? I pay you $40 and send you on your way. Probably took you 20 just to get to work, between gas and whatnot. And then it probably took you 10 or 15 just to be able to rehydrate yourself and have lunch. So you just basically work to work, right? But let's go back and to the start of your day. And I tell you everything that you're going to do within that hour, within that 2 hours that you're going to work, and what I'm going to pay you. Would you do all of this for $40? You'd be like, hell no. Hell no. I would not do all that for $40, right? But it's the same concept with the game. You see what I'm saying? You put time and money into like the war feature or the contest of mayors. Contest of mayors is a perfect example. If you are not a low-level player and if you are not somebody who's running a 2K average and knowing what you're doing in a lower level league, then you are definitely not benefiting from the contest of mayors. Now, some people say, well, you know what? I'm just getting rewarded for things that I'm doing anyway, so it's really not a big deal. Well, then you need to analyze what it is that you're doing anyways, because what you're doing anyways isn't beneficial, right? The contest of mayors, there are some assignments that don't make you deviate from the most profitable routine, right? But if it's forcing you to upgrade, and that in turn forces you to level up, which make everything harder, right? Then it would stand to reason that you wouldn't want to do those assignments. So then you have production. Most of the time, it's not going to give you production assignments for all of the highest profitable items in the game. So it's going to screw with your production. Then you have all the other things that you wouldn't have done, like the shipments, the cash that goes into those shipments to get them brought back, because you don't have 3 days to wait. So you start tallying up the cost versus the reward. Then you also have to look at time. So you spend a week's worth of your time, so 5 days or whatever it is, plus the day off trying to prep for it. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to break my back getting this legendary chest for the group. And I want everybody to get, 140k points a week, right? And then you look at it like that and you're like, okay, at the end of the week, do you know what you have to do? Do you know what you have to spend to hit those kinds of points? You have to spend a lot of EU, a lot of cash, a lot of coin, a lot of everything. And at the end of the week, you're going to get, if you're lucky and your club hits the legendary chest, you're going to get 15 randomly awarded rare items. Most of the time, it's beach or mountain or airport. Or it's like, you know, a mix of them. Then you go back and you look at the cost versus the reward. So before the next round of the contest, and if you're in Mega especially, this is what you need to do, okay? You're going to tally up everything. You're going to maybe take a screenshot of your city, right? So you know how much cash you started with and keys and all that. Especially if you're somebody who's running a 2K average, right? And then you're going to tally up everything and you're going to write it down so you know. And you're going to be like, okay, I did this assignment and I paid the $20 to bring this flight back. And then you're going to tally up all the cash you spent. You're going to tally up all the rares you spent on your VU and launching your VU. And then you're going to tally up all the, the coins that you had versus what you have at the end of the contest. That's probably about the only way you're going to be able to do that realistically. And you're going to look at that at the end of the week, and then you're going to look at the reward. And you can do the same thing for war, right? If you're getting a fraction of what you're putting into it, then why are you doing it? So unless you're hitting the top prizes in the Mega League, then there's no point in you participating in the contest of mares at that level of, I guess, to the degree that you're doing it. Now me, I just dink around and do whatever assignments that I want to do to unlock the pass and the pass only. I'm not spending cash on flights. I'm not spending cash on canisters. I'm not spending cash on any of my assignments, right? And I'm not doing, I'm able to do house upgrade assignments, and they only benefit me at this point, right? Because I have to unlock my regional map. So I'm fine with that, And when I launch my VU, I always do the most beneficial one, and then I get my keys or whatever. Now, about the only thing that I ever do that I shouldn't do, that doesn't really benefit me, would be the upgrade war cards, because that one's so easy. It's a 3K task. I usually do that one because I can get an upgrade on a really crappy card for 12 keys or something. So I'm willing to just do that for the 3K points, but that's about the only one that really, really, really costs me anything. So I usually get more out of it than what I put in because of the way that I choose to play it. But if I was playing competitively, that would not be the case, right? Basically, the whole point in this video is to really, I guess, change the dynamics of the way that people are thinking. If you're looking at something in this one way, you're not going to be able to see a better way to do something, if that makes sense. All right, if you continue to do the same thing every day, you're going to have the same results, right? There you go. So when somebody comes to you and you're set in your ways and you're specifically doing something in this one way, you have to change that. Otherwise, if you're having problems and you're having difficulties and stuff, you have to change the way you're doing things in order to get a different result. So maybe not all of the things that you're doing, but it's usually what the problem with people is they don't really think about the most logical way to go about something. They don't analyze it. They just kind of get stuck into the flow of what everybody else is doing, right? It's kind of like how you'll make an item because it sells the quickest. Why does that matter? Why is it important to you that the item sells quickly? You have 32 depot slots and Daniel will buy your stuff and you can, advertise it at night. Why does it matter if it's selling quickly? Now you say, well, because I'm usually broke. Well, there you go. Because you're making the wrong items. So let's back up for a minute and let's say that you're making the correct items. Therefore, now you're not broke. And therefore, now you can afford to wait for those items to sell. Right? So do you want to be able to sell items quickly because you're constantly broke and making the wrong things? Or do you want to be able to sell items not as quickly, but have a lot more money and not need to sell them as quickly and be making a lot more coin? You kind of see where I'm going with that? So my last example, and then I'm shutting this, this video off because I got some other stuff I got to do today. But a lot of you, a lot of people that play, this game, they downloaded it for the purpose of building a city, right? That was the whole point in this game. Now, when I first downloaded this game, I thought it was going to be like the other SimCities. And I thought that it was going to be basically tax generated, like the way that the other ones were. You would build up a city and then you would go based off of your taxes was your income. This game was way different. It had all of these items, and I was kind of taken aback by like, wait, what? You have to make items to use to do... Yeah, it was a whole different learning curve than SimCity 2000, which is what I grew up playing. I also grew up playing Diablo 2, which, by the way, is a badass game. Diablo 3 was a disgrace. Okay? I mean, it was cool and stuff, but yeah, I'm getting way sidetracked. All right, but Diablo 2's the shit. Anyways, okay. Original SimCities and stuff, I thought that that's what it was going to be like, right? And it wasn't like that at all. And so I'm like, okay. Now, if you haven't noticed, before regional maps came out, especially if you're somebody who's a high-level player and you're watching this, you'll notice that the game, when you looked at into a city builder, you downloaded it because you wanted to build a city. Now, looking at it from a logical perspective, how much of your time is focused on the building aspects of your city? Not much for most people. Most people, the time spent is the making of the items and the hunting of the items and the rares. So people think like, well, you know what? I want to be able to just type what I need in on the global market. Well, if you did that, then nobody would ever be able to find what they needed, because everybody would just type in, okay, I need storage bars, and they would just go buy them all. Or I need melons, and they'd go buy them all, right? So that wouldn't work. It would totally destroy all the dynamics of the game. If you could always find everything that you needed, then there would be no reason for you to make anything, right? And there would be no reason for you to re-roll your house materials wanted, because you could just find the items. Epics wouldn't be hard because you could just find the items real easily. You wouldn't even need storage at all, really. Not much, because you'd be able to find what you needed all the time, right? So there'd be no reason for you to hold on to stuff. If you could just go get it whenever you want it, why hold on to it? You kind of see where I'm going with that? So it would destroy the entire game if you could just get to what it is that you want to get immediately. Now, back to my point. People get into this habit of, and the game becomes this hunt for storage and dozer and unlocking their map. That's what the game becomes. At what point do you reach a point in the game where it's like, okay, like, what is the reason why you've been sitting here stockpiling storage? You all know that that's what you need to be doing, because that's what's in the Missy's Building Guide, and that's what you know is to be an issue, right? So you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to upgrade my storage. What do you do when it's upgraded? What do you do when your land's all upgraded? Is the game just over? Like, what was the point in you upgrading it all? Essentially, you're setting yourself up for the game to start. That's the whole purpose, right? And so people get into this habit of, this is the game. The hunt is the game, not the designing, not the building. And so they slowly just kind of end up with their city. They didn't like sit down and really design it and start bulldozing everything and moving stuff around and making stuff look cool, right? They just started at the beginning, and they just slowly kept, drawing roads and working their way around their map, and then it ended up into this big pile of stuff, It's just complete, everything's just spread out, and there's roads running into buildings, and you've put so much money and time into the roads that you don't want to bulldoze them, right? And you know how much of a tedious task it is to pick up the water and stuff, so you're like, oh, fuck that. Then why play the game? If that's your only enjoyment is the hunt, of the rares, then the Missy's Building Guide is not for you. Because what's going to happen is that 2 months is going to come up and you're going to be bored as shit. You're going to be sitting there like, now what? What are you going to wake up and do every day when you have no storage to hunt, you have no dozer to hunt, which means that you really don't benefit all that much from the pass. And if you're not a war player, right, and you have, let's just say you have some epics already, then what? What are you doing with your time? What are you going to be doing every time you open up your game? Upgrading houses to build houses? Okay, cool. This is where the designing comes in, right? This is where you're like, okay, I'm going to stockpile my VU and I'm going to trade off my storage for dozer for my other maps, because eventually after you get your capital done, you're going to start building up on your other maps and you're going to start designing. If you're somebody who doesn't like designing, the game's over really for you, because there's nothing for you to do. That's all that's left. Now, once you unlock your regionals, yeah, you'll be able to hunt dozer again, right? But eventually you're going to max your dozer out on that map. You're going to up your pop and you're going to proceed on. And then once you unlock all the maps, then what? Then what do? Then it's just, again, it's just building and watching for the new buildings to come out and designing. If you don't like the designing aspects of the game, then don't be in a hurry to upgrade everything, because you're going to be bored. And that's when most people stop playing. Now, how many people, and EA knows this, how many people are going to sit there and pay, the 18 cash for, for some storage rares, and they pull out their credit card every week? Do the math on that. How many storage rares you need to upgrade, right? If you go up 5 space every time you upgrade, and every 5 times that you upgrade, it costs 1 additional item, and it caps out at 75 rares in total for 1 upgrade. That's a lot of rares, okay? Then you look at what you're paying in cash, and you do that times, however many you're buying, and then you convert it into real money and see what you would have to spend to unlock max storage if you were to buy them individually or if you were to buy them in the promotion bundles. They know this, and you're not gonna do it, all at once. Nobody's gonna sit there and go, yeah, I'll pay $1,000 for the game. Nobody. But over time, it adds up, and you'll be surprised at what you have to show for it. So when you're looking at your city after 5 years of playing, that's a lot of time invested. And then you go back through and you look at all the money you've invested, and what do you have to show for your time? If you don't have a damn good looking city, and especially if you're not maxed out on all your stats, then what's the point, right? Now, at that point, why not just hack the damn game and save the $1,000, right? I mean, really, because that's a little bit ridiculous. You know what I mean? Anyways, you guys, I know I've talked way too long on this subject. It just amazes me how so many people they all think the same way, but it's wrong at the same time, I play a gun game, Realm Royale. I know a lot of people haven't heard of it, but it's similar to Fortnite. So it's a battle royale, and when you die, you turn into a chicken, and it's a really badass game. But the hackers and the bots ruined it, and the game developers stopped paying attention to it. But it had potential, and it was really, really good. And there's one thing that I noticed about it, though, and it happens with, I would say, 99.9% of the time this happens. You duo up, which means you have a partner, right? And if you look at it like real life, you're in war, right? And you have a partner. Are you gonna drop on the other side of the map away from your partner? No. Why? Because you have a better chance of winning if you both are together, right? So what happens is people get into this habit of coming across bots, right? And so what ends up happening is they think, okay, this is easy, I can handle these people on my own. The bots are easy. But then what happens is if you come across a real player that knows their shit, knows what they're doing, they kick your ass, because those two stayed together. So I had a teammate that I would play this game with, and me and him were really, really good together. We played really, really well together. And it was almost like we were dance partners, so to speak. Like, it's a really weird way of explaining it, but, you know, if I went into a room to shoot somebody, I knew he was right behind me. And if my health was dropping, I knew that when he walked through the door, he was gonna, if he had one, he has like a healing thing that he can drop on the ground. He watches my health as well, and he drops it when he comes through the door, and then he, you know, kind of goes in front of me, right? So that I can heal up a little bit, and then I can have his back. And so you're almost like, imagine two people back to back, and you're almost rotating and dancing, and you're in sync with this person, right? And you're focused on their health, you're focused on, you know, what items that they have, when their abilities are coming up, you know, just everything. But then you play with somebody who's like, I'm on the other side of the map. You know what I mean? It's like, really, dude? You're on the other side of the map. So I have a partner that's on the other side of the map, and two people that actually play the game and drop together and communicate through mic and are like, yeah, hey, there's a guy at the top of the, you know, the thing on the left. Nobody announces when they see anything. And who do you think's gonna win at the end of the game? The two people that work together, or the two jackasses that don't even know where each other are? Yeah. And I'm actually gonna make a whole video on that because that is ridiculous. I got something to say about that shit. But anyways, you guys, I know I've been blabbing for way too fucking long, as per usual. So, you know what? If you guys have any feedback, comments, whatever, we got a Facebook page now. Discord sucks. I hate that shit. So, we are going back